This is Black Views, bringing you the Black News. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today, I have a story for you. I got this out of the Independent, and it's also titled White 14-Year-Old Arrested for Attempting to Drown a Black Friend, while another teen allegedly called the supposed black guy George Floyd as the victim's head was being forced underwater. Okay, this happened out in Massachusetts, where basically there was a young black man who was basically assaulted by two white teens who invited him to come out for an event. Information is very limited with this situation, and all I have is there's a little snippet of video of just a reporter. But I'm going to read to you the article from the Independent. A white teenager was indicted on attempted murder charges after he was alleged to have repeatedly held a black boy who thought they were friends underwater while hurling racial slurs. Right? The attack by the 14-year-old happened on Goose Pond in Chatham, Massachusetts on July 19th. This happened in July 19th. We ain't even here. We don't have no names. We don't have nothing. So just to show you how powerful the media is, the white media, that is. The victim said in a written statement that he was continually pushed underwater until he started to feel lightheaded, police said. He also vomited and eventually screamed for help. A third teen, this the third one now. A third teen at the Cape Cod Pond, also white, laughed and called the victim George Floyd. Police said while the other continued to wrestle him underwater. George Floyd was a black man that was brutally murdered. Of course, we already know that. Authorities say the victims rode a bike. The victim rode a bike to the pond for an outing he thought was with his friends. This is why it's very important to be careful, young people. Especially if you live in those neighborhoods where you have white friends and you have some friends, they're not really friends, but they may be acquaintances to you. I'm only reading to you what I see here. Okay, let me continue with the article. But what should have been a safe trip to the pond with the peers allegedly turned into a racist ordeal. According to the police, the two teens started to throw stones at the victim after he refused to pay the man to ride his bike to the pond. That didn't make any sense. According to the police, the two teens started to throw stones at the victim after he refused the pair's demand to ride his bike to the pond. And then after the victim put on a life jacket as he could not swim and got into the pond, the pair persisted to throw stones at him and threatened to beat him up. Just imagine this, bro. It's just I don't know. I can imagine this is a nice community right here. And he's just out there and with some guys he thought that was his friends, and now they're throwing stones at him. The indicted teen then picked up a larger stone, police said, threatening the victim with it, while also calling him boy and nigger. So guess what? They were stoning him, calling him nigger, calling him boy. These are 14-year-olds. This is happening in Massachusetts. The racial and physical torment continued as the teen got into the pond with their victim, according to the authorities. Despite the victim's pleas, the teen pulled him by his life jacket and forced him under 4 or 5 times, according to the police narrative. This is the police narrative. We're not making this up. The teen then also swarmed under the water and attempted to grab his feet and pull the victim underwater. You imagine this shit? They're trying to drown this man and calling him nigger. Water went into my mouth and my nose, and I could not breathe, the victim wrote in a statement. So I shouted out that I can't breathe over and over and tried to get his hand off me. So he kept saying, I couldn't breathe to breathe. And remember, the one child was calling him George Floyd. Listen, while this was happening, he said the third teen just stood and started laughing and called him George Floyd, obviously making fun of me and showing no remorse. Fortunately, several people at the pond witnessed the incident and helped stop the racial attack. So look where we at. I mean, it's kids out here. Okay? See, when we bring these things up and we talk about the racial issues that are going on in America, what they're going to do is say, well, there's black people killing black people every day. You see what I'm saying? This goes to show you that we are dealing with an animal. We are dealing with a beast. Okay? So I'm going to read a little bit more with the article, and then I'm going to show you a video that I did get from NBC News. Thank you to them. A person who helped the victim out in the water told police that he saw both teens taking turns submerging the victim underwater, according to the court documents. One witness said they heard George Floyd comment by the third juvenile, and another witness also heard the victim screaming for them to stop. He's screaming. The Cape Island District Attorney Office announced on 31 August, now remember this happened in July, and he announced on 31 August that the incident was racially motivated and that the 14-year-old was to be indicted on charges of attempted murder and assault with a dangerous weapon. I guess those are the rocks that were being thrown. Also, on the 31st of August, the teen was found to be dangerous after a hearing at the juvenile court, meaning he would be in custody without bail. They thought that he was dangerous. It's not yet clear the other boy will also face charges. Why? I mean, I don't know. They're juveniles. An attempted murder sentence in Massachusetts can last up to 20 years. Assaulting with a dangerous weapon can bring up to 5 years. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And so, fam, FBA, watch your kids, talk to your kids. And not so much for those little brothers and sisters that may live, in black neighborhoods. But when you live like on those little outskirts and your parents are trying to introduce you to a different lifestyle, and sometimes you'll come across and you're going to make white friends. You're going to meet white people. And you are to treat them just as you want to be treated as well. But be careful to go out to these events and just be the only black person. Try to have another black person with you. Try not to be the only one, because at any time when they're ready to tee off on you and they're ready to start the little lynching process, that's what this was. That was a lynching. They invited him out as if he was a friend, and then tried to kill him. They tried to drown him, calling him nigger, calling him George Floyd. No names have been given, but why aren't the parents being announced? Why aren't they being announced in the news? And remember, this happened in July. It's now we're in September. So I just wanted to document this situation. Like I said, stand by for the video.
In a remote area, a popular summer hotspot for those looking to cool off. But now, disturbing details just released about an incident that occurred here back in July. Court paperwork saying this started when the victim, who is black, told police he was invited to swim at this pond on July 19th. He added after he got here, the victim telling his friends, who are white, he didn't know how to swim, so he put on a life jacket. Investigators adding the suspect started throwing rocks at him, calling him a racial slur, and threatened to beat him up. The suspect, according to the police report, later repeatedly dunking the victim in the pond and swam underneath him to try and pull him underwater. The victim adding he couldn't breathe, and another teen, quote, started laughing and called me George Floyd, obviously making fun of me and showing no remorse. It all eventually ended when the victim yelled for help and someone here on the beach swam out and stopped him. The 14-year-old suspect was in court late last week, and has stated he's being charged as a youthful offender, which means even though he is a juvenile, his court proceedings are public and he could potentially be facing an adult sentence. Those at Goose Pond this afternoon in disbelief.
Anything is possible in today's world that we live in, but kind of hard to believe for here. If this kid is the bad egg that they say he is, good to have him off the street.
Okay, that was the video snippet. Now ask yourself, now think about this. They're throwing stones at him, dunking him under the water, and also referencing him as George Floyd. So this is something that was learned. Okay? This is something that basically black people are under attack. Remember, we just had the Jacksonville shooting, and now this is continually happening over and over while the white media tries to disguise these as just separate incidents. So I'm going to leave it at that, fam. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Also, please hit the like button and please subscribe. Have a great day.